Hello, and welcome to Beyond Biotech, the weekly podcast from Labiotech. I'm Dylan Kassane, and this is episode 183 for the podcast. Today, we're joined by Thomas Hopkins, Vice President and Head of ExploR&D at Eli Lilly. With a background as a physician-scientist in oncology, Tom has spent his career bridging bold discovery science with rigorous development, first in academia and clinical practice, and then at Lilly since 2015. Lilly ExploR&D represents new thinking in the pharma-biotech collaboration model, a shared risk, deep scientific partnership designed specifically for early-stage biotechs. It provides full-stack R&D capabilities, helping companies overcome the toughest hurdles in moving from molecule creation to clinical proof of concept, all while staying lean in a challenging funding environment. In this episode, Thomas dives into his journey shaping ExploR&D, how the program works in practice, current priorities in modalities and therapeutic areas, and he offers some practical advice for biotechs seeking to partner with Eli Lilly. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Tom Hopkins. Tom, welcome to Beyond Biotech.
Hi, Dylan. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Tom, let's start with your own origin story. You trained as a physician, you did a degree in genetics. When was the moment you realized that this was a field that really grabbed you, but that you wanted to be part of something more than just a lab researcher?
Yes, it was an experience I can still remember to this day, which really shaped the course to the path I'm on right now. I was a physician working in hospital, also an academic researcher. But through that work, I also got the opportunity to work in a phase 1 clinical trials unit. And we were working with large pharma there, but also with small biotech teams, including some incredibly passionate individuals that had literally remortgaged their homes to get the drug that they believed in into the clinic. And sitting, I think, at the same time in the clinic and seeing people for whom there were no further options, having to deliver, terrible news. Being at the bench where it felt like the work that we were doing was impactful, but a long way from actually reaching a patient. The work I was doing with these biotech teams really was in that sweet spot of transforming breakthrough science into real measurable patient impact.
Was that frustrating to feel like you were making an impact, but you were still so far removed from patients?
I mean, every step in that journey is incredibly important. We would not be where we are with the medicines that are being approved today without that bench research, the bold science that starts way back. But I certainly get a lot of my energy from the feeling that we are close to making a difference to the patients that really need therapies right now. And that's really the core of the mission that we've built within ExploR&D, which I think we're going to get onto, but making it easier for that breakthrough science to make that really difficult transition from discovery into the development space and ultimately to reach patients.
You mentioned ExploR&D. You joined Lilly, though, back in 2015. Maybe you can talk us through the roles that you've had moving up to leading ExploR&D today.
Sure. Well, I had a fantastic run within Lilly. It's an amazing company to be part of, an amazing time to be part of Lilly as well. Really a transformational era. I actually joined within the oncology space. I'm a medical oncologist by background. But I think because I'm always open and interested in new challenges, I got involved in Lilly's first ever foray into DNA editing, working within Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And then when COVID hit, I was involved in Lilly's really transformational speed as they turned the idea of therapeutic antibodies into therapies that were in the clinic. So seeing what was possible there, I think for many of us within Lilly, but certainly for me, was hugely impactful in our ability to think outside the box and in many ways to just completely throw out the window the traditional paradigm of drug development and move with a speed and urgency which up to that point had just not been seen.
There's a lot of pharma companies who have outreach to biotechs. They talk about being partners of choice for biotechs, really wanting to work with them. But one of the things that makes your program a little bit different is that it's set out to be truly biotech-friendly. How do you be friendly to a biotech? How do you make yourselves a little bit different to what everybody else is doing?
Well, I guess just for the context of, what is ExploR&D? We're a team of now over 80 expert drug discoverers and developers dedicated to working with biotech. And the central thesis is we want to put all of Lilly's capabilities, know-how, and connectivity behind a biotech team's mission to make it faster and easier for them to move their science forward. And that's really a different model. One of our biotech collaborators actually gave a really great analogy, the CEO of a great company called Secretome, Vinny, and he said that traditional interactions with pharma are like a switch. It's very much a binary interaction, and the switch is yes, no switch. And more than 90% of the time, that switch is in the no position because they're things that just don't match up. It's not on strategy. It's not the right stage. It's not the right data package. And that there really are very few tools beyond that no interaction other than let's speak again in 6 months. What we've got with ExploR&D is a suite of ways to start working with companies at a super early stage. We want to be in the trenches at the very beginning, helping companies think through the strategy and turn the strategy into a concrete and deliverable plan, because we think that that's going to be super beneficial for the biotech teams because they're going to get access to the knowledge and expertise that we have. But it's also incredibly important for Lilly as well to remain outward looking and to be highly connected to all of the innovations going on around the world. I personally am a huge believer in Joy's law, which states that no matter who you are or how big you are, there are always more smart people outside your organization than within it. And that's true for a company like Lilly, over 40,000 employees, but it's equally true for even the best biotech teams, because there you're talking about, a handful of people, maybe, at most 10, 50. And there's so much change going on at any one time that it's almost impossible, even for my team, to stay on top of what's going on. But we have this incredible network of support around us, over 10,000 people devoted to R&D, which all feeds into my team's collective brain. And we can put that at the disposal of the biotechs that come and collaborate with us.
What does that collaboration actually look like in practice? What does it mean to collaborate with Lilly in that sense?
Yes, well, the first thing that people think about when they think pharma collaboration is slow. So that's the first myth to bust within our organization. We move at lightning pace. We have got agreements in place to work with companies and support them with a time-critical question in as little as 24 hours. So we want to move fast and agilely. And then we really enter every conversation to ask the biotech teams, what is the problem that you're facing at the moment? And then we try and construct a team and a work plan scope that matches that need. And that could be as small as we've just got some feedback from the FDA and we just really don't understand what the next steps look like. And that was an example of a time critical response, through to, we are just thinking about moving into the development stage. We need a target product profile and a budget and timeline to get us all the way through to first tox dose or to IND submission. And we want to meet biotechs where they are. So we try and create a collaboration structure that works for them. And that could be something as simple as a fee-for-service structure, because a very straightforward, or for companies where either they have resource constraints and or we are super excited in the science and we want to deepen our collaboration. We've got a range of different shared risk structures as well that we can put in place.
I guess that's one of the things I read when I was looking at ExploR&D. It was described as a shared risk, deep scientific partnership. Now, the partnership is easy to understand from what you say, but this shared risk, that can be, fee for service. Do you take equity in companies, or do you set sort of partnership guidelines down on paper like that as well?
So it's a good time to, I think, contextualize where ExploR&D sits within Lilly in this Catalyze 360 ecosystem that we've created. So under Nisha Nanda, who came to Lilly via the acquisition of Loxone, she's a serial biotech entrepreneur. She leads the Catalyze 360 organization. We've got a suite of tools to help support biotech companies designed to address the major pain points. We have Lilly Ventures, which is providing capital, both through direct investments and through investments in funds. We have Lilly Gateway Lab, which is our biotech incubator hubs. More than real estate, we're creating communities in areas of scientific innovation. And our newest offering, Lilly Tune Lab, which is about democratizing access to our AI discovery models, giving computational tools to biotechs that would otherwise be very hard to reach. So all of those work together synergistically to provide needs, to address the needs of biotech. We have companies that have used every single pillar, super users as we call them. We also have companies that only work with one part of our organization. Within that shared risk bucket that you were asking about, it really depends on how much support a biotech needs in terms of the scope of work, but also, their capital constraint as well. One of the most innovative shared risk models that we have is in the space of molecule creation. So we have companies coming to us that have fantastic target ID capabilities, but they're not experts in making large molecules, peptides, small molecules, or they've got a great starter molecule, but they need help finishing it into a pharma-grade candidate. In that case, the deal structure that we kind of put in place through a conversation with biotechs was one in which companies don't pay anything up front. We do all the work for them at no cost. And then the deal structure is such that we take some back-end economics, some relatively light milestones and single-digit royalties. These are terms that we've tried and tested with VCs and with biotechs. And that enables the company to take a pharma-grade molecule and accelerate it towards the clinic. And in fact, coming out of JPM, one of the most rewarding interactions I had there was catching up with one of our very earliest collaborators, a CEO of a company from Paradox Immunotherapeutics, Natalie Gallant. One of the very first collaborations we signed, one of the very first molecules that we created as part of this model. And she's now, progressing that program rapidly forward. She raised a great source of funding last year. So incredible to see, the very first collaborations that we signed gaining such significant momentum.
Tell me a little bit about the biotechs that come and work with you. How are you finding them? Are you being proactive, going out to look for them, or are these people who are coming looking for help?
So a little bit of both, Dylan. I mean, it's a great question. What we find increasingly is we've got various different parts of Lilly in the therapeutic areas, functions that are out there every day speaking to great companies, to great innovators. And only a small subset of those are ready for a traditional business development interaction at any point in time. But there are companies that they love the science and they want to help them progress to that next inflection point where they could become candidates for a business development deal. So we get a lot of our collaborators through there. What we're seeing now is, as I hope from the beginning, network effects. We've worked with now around 70 biotech companies. We've signed over 100 collaborations since we founded in mid-2022. And it's really gratifying to see, but we've got a lot of satisfied C-suite collaborators now around in the ecosystem, and they're starting to recommend us to their colleagues, to their friends, to other CEOs that they interact with. So we're also getting de novo reach outs increasingly as word gets out around what we're doing and the value that we can provide.
One of the taglines of ExploR&D that I found was, "We engage where the science is bold, not where it's certain." Does that mean you're looking at things that are outside of Lilly's normal area of focus?
Yes, another great question, Dylan. Yes, absolutely. In fact, that was the central ask for our organization, to think about the pipeline and the scientific frontiers of the future, not just of today. So we are very much unconstrained by therapeutic area and by modality. And we're really interested in engaging early because, as I'm sure many of your listeners will have experienced, unfortunately, we've worked with a lot of companies that have made decisions at the beginning, often from no fault of their own, through poor advice, that have really put them in a very difficult situation. And in the worst case has led to, a diligence for a potential M&A that has identified red flags that has cost that company a deal. And that's not great for the company, for the founders. It's not good for Lilly as a potential buyer, and it's terrible for patients as well. An example that comes to mind, and I'll anonymize this for the sake of the people that we spoke to, but a company that had done an incredible job pushing a gene therapy boulder uphill, but got poor advice from a CMC consultant and went to the wrong CDMO, spent millions of dollars, and essentially backed themselves into a corner and have no route forward now because they've used up all of their capital. And so decisions made even relatively early on in a program can have huge downstream consequences. And so that's one of the reasons we say that there's no company too early for us to start working. And in fact, another great conversation that I had at JPM that sticks in mind, two people straight out of grad school who've started a company. They've got, a great technology platform. They're thinking about their first few programs, but they have very limited industry experience. And even though the platform has huge potential, the ability of this team of two to articulate a path forward to the next milestone, super challenging. It's a complex space that we work in. So we love getting involved with those companies that have got a great scientific idea, that have identified a really challenging problem and have a path to a solution, because there's so much that we can add on top that will increase their ability to raise capital, develop their platform, and get to that next milestone.
What sort of things would you do in a case like that? Is it helping them with a business plan? Is it offering them some consulting advice, helping them with hiring the right people early on? What sort of practical advice would you give to a firm in that sort of position?
So in this case, the platform was one that could spit out a number of different targets. And when my wheels were spinning, speaking to them, what they really needed, they had a lead program, but it was essentially at the hit stage. We were going to put in place a collaboration to help them think through a target product profile. Just a single slide, but it's a hugely important document that really gives you the roadmap for the next few years of work. And then to develop that with the kind of workflows that they would need to get to a clinical candidate. And then we can help them put a timeline and budget around that. And then through that work, you've instantly got 2 slides that you can put in your deck that can be really helpful in speaking to investors and thinking about raising the money that you need to get to that next inflection point. And we aim to make that kind of interaction incredibly easy to initiate. And we don't want cost to be a barrier for a company with great science to collaborate with us.
And I guess my last question around those sort of collaborations, if they come in, I can see how that can be really valuable to them, but they're still very early stage. At some point, they're going to want to partner, they're going to want to collaborate. Are they obligated to work with Lilly at that point? Or is this, do they still have some freedom of movement to work with somebody else?
That's a key point to stress, Dylan. Absolutely not. There's no pharma hooks to tie them to Lilly. What we're banking on really is the relationships that we build, that they find the experience of working with my team who have such a collaborative mindset, that are focused on solving problems, that when it comes to the time to partner, that strength of relationship is such that we are their first phone call. But we don't want that to be an obligation. We want that to be an innate desire, the strength of the relationships that we've built.
You mentioned, and if we can get to specifics, you more than 70 biotechs that you've already worked with. How many are coming in each year? How many people are joining the program?
Well, actually, one of my team did some modeling, Dylan. I think we are on an exponential growth phase at the moment. I will say that in the first year, we signed under 10 collaborations. Last year, we signed just shy of 50 collaborations, and I'm really challenging my team, just as I'm being challenged by Dan and Dave above me, to continue that trajectory, because we really think that this is a global need in the ecosystem. There's so much great science, but it just doesn't feel like it makes sense for a company that is incredibly innovative in the discovery space to have to reinvent the wheel, to build from scratch the development infrastructure that Lilly has spent, 150 years and has over 10,000 people working to develop and refine all the time. So we really want to make that development operating system available to these companies so that we actually can advance that science to the point where we get to test the underlying hypothesis, not test the ability of companies to create an operational infrastructure and potentially miss the opportunity to actually conduct that scientific experiment.
Now, on the website there, it says that ExploR&D is largely modality and therapeutic area agnostic, but you're looking for bold science. I like this idea of bold. Tell me about something bold that you've had your eye on and something that's come into ExploR&D.
So when we say bold science, I think we're really interested in swinging for the fences. We're interested in companies that have found a significant problem that are faced by patients and have a path to a solution. It's also beyond that as well, because we're really interested in the technologies that can act across an ecosystem to make us more productive in R&D, both for our biotech collaborators, but also internally within Lilly. So thinking about where advances in technology, all the way from discovery through to clinical development, can enable us to do more with less or to move significantly faster. I mean, talking about, where are we interested in the science? We just released a new video, for example, where you can go on our website and see that's working with a great innovator, Danny Wells, and his company, Apana. And it's great seeing a company like that from its very earliest stages, how we can start to collaborate and become part of their strategic thinking as well. I think, we are becoming an extension of part of Apana in this particular case to help them focus on their platform technology while we remove some of the downstream hurdles to advancing a lead program rapidly towards the clinic.
So there's still therapeutic areas that you're particularly interested in, the oncologies, immunologies, cardiometabolic, of course, at Lilly. Are there areas that are still a main focus?
Absolutely. So as I said, we're interested in the pipeline of today and tomorrow. That's the global pipeline. So all of the core therapeutic areas that make up the Lilly pipeline today. But we're also thinking about areas that have significant unmet need, where we think that the science is advancing to the point where, we really need to be involved. One of the areas that we're talking about quite a lot at the moment is women's health, an area that has not seen a huge amount of research and focus. Obviously, if you're in an area like immunology, then you're already kind of de facto in women's health because of the enrichment of many immunological diseases in women. But there's breaking science in this area now, so we're keen to be participating in that breaking wave.
For biotechs who are listening, who think this sounds amazing and they want to reach out to you, what does that ideal first outreach actually look like? Is it a one-pager? Is it a deck? Is it a meeting at a conference or an event? What does it look like?
Well, the first question we usually get is when should we reach out? So I always like to provide the context that the earliest we started talking to a company is before it's even been created, in the peri-spin-out stage, all the way through to post-IPO mature companies with more than 100 employees. So that stage of company should be no barrier. Similarly, stage of program should not be a barrier as well. We've worked with companies that are already have established phase 2 data, and they're thinking about new indications that they want to explore, all the way through, as we talked about, to companies that are just in the platform creation stage and where they're just trying to decide what the first program they should take forward would be. We want to be as accessible as possible. We've got a website, www.explorand.com, which has a contact us page. I'm on LinkedIn and respond to everyone that pings me there. We're at nearly every partnering conference as well. And if you find any Lilly employee and ask them about us, they can probably direct you into us. So wherever you want to reach out, we're interested in talking.
And I guess if you're taking people really early stage or engaging early stage, there doesn't always have to be a whole lot of data there right at the start.
No, I mean, I think that's what bold science means, that we really want to see, again, the identification of a problem that matters and a path to a solution, but we're not looking for super mature data packages. Um, I I think we want to see some idea of a roadmap forward, but actually that's in many ways the best time to get involved because some companies don't know exactly what data will be most impactful. I'll give an example, another practical one. In the space of cardiometabolic, obviously it's a huge focus for Lilly. Um, the companies often come to us with questions around what preclinical data they should generate in order to explore weight loss potential. And in that case, we're very happy to share, for example, a preclinical mouse protocol so that they can conduct the right experiment. Um, Beyond that, we can also help them identify the right vendor to run that study so they can have confidence that the data that is going to be produced is going to be informative. And that extends across all phases of development as well. As we talked about that manufacturing example where, selecting the wrong provider to do the work for you can cost you at the very least, thousands, millions of dollars and time at the worst can cost you the viability of your company. So we think one of the most important things we can do is actually act as a super connector between biotechs that need data generated and from CROs, CDMOs, third-party vendors that we've worked with before that we trust. And we can help bridge that gap and bring the two together.
And is there such a thing as a big red flag, something that you see in a pitch that just sticks out and says, well, these are probably not the people for us?
That's a good question. I think what we're looking for is people that are interested in collaborating. That's probably the main thing for me that I'm looking for. They're open to other perspectives. They're seeking, additional input, and they're looking for a partner to get in the trenches and to start thinking about ideas, putting strategy together, and actually executing. And that's when we've seen our most successful and impactful collaborations. Companies that are just looking for a service provider that are in the command and control mode, I don't think they're set up for success in a collaboration with ExploR&D, with my organization.
Now, over the last couple of years, you've delivered a couple of different clinical proof of concept packages without breaking any sort of confidentiality there. Can you talk me through one or two stories that really illustrate how this model is adding value, how it's really pushing things forward?
Sure, I guess a few things that have been in the public domain that we can talk about. We signed a collaboration a few years back with a company called BioAge, and there we were helping to design and execute a phase 2 proof of concept in weight loss. And thinking about the value that we can bring there, obviously, we have huge amounts of clinical data, but also operational data that we can bring to bear in not just designing the right clinical protocol, but designing the right operational strategy as well, the right country strategy and the right site strategy. There's a great quote I saw from Bruce Booth from Atlas Ventures towards the end of last year, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but he said the highest value creating activity in biotech is excellent clinical execution. And I totally agree with that. It was probably implicit, but I would extend that to say in excellent clinical design and execution there. And that's, I think, where we really transmit outsized value in thinking through what are the inclusion and exclusion criteria that can turn a fast recruiting study into a study that peters out and ultimately may not recruit at all, and how can we optimize that? And then which countries, sites, PIs do we need to engage with to ensure that this trial enrolls at lightning pace? And we have access to huge amounts of data, both generated by ourselves and data that we acquire from others, that enables us to build best-in-class plans for our biotech collaborators. The other piece as well, I think that is worth talking about is in manufacturing broadly, and that we have a huge differentiation there. I think in our ability to piece together multiple different vendors in an integrated, seamless way that removes all white space that can make the difference of 9 months to a year in some cases in development timelines. And we see companies with different risk profiles, companies that want to work in China, companies that want to only site all of their manufacturing within the US. And we have partners that we can work with that meet all of those timelines. And the pharma lens that we're bringing as well is about integrating multiple different stages together to bring that timeline acceleration. So thinking about how we can seamlessly flow from the discovery stage into the manufacturing development stage with relatively minimal additional cost by starting activities at risk. You can shave a quarter or half a year off conventional timelines. And that's something that's super hard for small teams to do because of all the different companies that you need to work with, the different regulatory requirements that you need to understand. And as we know, those are shifting all the time. So it's very hard for small teams to stay on top of all of that challenge, but also the opportunity that change creates.
You mentioned China, you mentioned the US. That brings me to a question about geography. For the companies that are starting to work with you, do they have to be located in a certain place? Do they stay where they were built, or do you prefer them to move to a Golden Triangle or a Boston or somewhere out in California?
That's a really important point, Dylan, because we really want to make this globally accessible. And we're now working with companies across 10 different countries and expect that to grow. So there are no requirements for geographic location. And in fact, we want to support preferentially companies that maybe are not living or based within those hotspots where there's access to huge amounts of resource and connectivity like Boston and the Bay Area. And my team are located across the world so that we can encompass time zones and geographic requirements. In fact, it's a good point to stress that we're hiring a team within China because both there is a huge amount of innovation coming out of China at the moment, but also we're getting a huge amount of inbound from European and US-based biotechs that are hearing a lot about the cost and time savings of running development through China, but are really struggling to understand a path forward, to know which vendors to work with, to understand what is a pretty complex and fast-changing regulatory environment. And playing that kind of geographic arbitrage is something that is really important for my team to be able to help biotechs think through.
So for biotechs who are listening to this and they just think, this sounds perfect for us, it's exactly what we need, where do they go? Where's the front door? Where do they get in contact with you?
Yes. Well, as I said, we've got a website that's live. Please check out the new video with Danny Wells from a partner on that. And there's a contact us page on that. And we've got a team dedicated to just picking those up and responding in real time. Feel free to ping me on LinkedIn or find anyone with a Lilly name badge at a partnering conference or a scientific conference and ask them to send you our way.
And just a final question for you, Tom. If for those Series B, Series A biotechs who are listening here who are about ready to cross that discovery to development valley of death, for want of another term, what would be your advice to them? Is it really to reach out and get help, get that right advice, not make early errors, or should they be doing something else?
Yes, I mean, I'm sure the boards are telling them the same thing. You need to be as informed as possible when making decisions, because that transition from discovery to development, all of the timelines for the decisions you make get longer and the dollar signs get larger. So the margin for error just decreases. So you need to arm yourself with the best possible information to ensure that you've got the right strategy and you've got the right partners to help you execute that strategy. And whether you just want an informal conversation or you're already thinking about a more substantial body of collaboration, then I just encourage those people to reach out to us and see what kind of value we can provide.
Tom, thanks for joining us on Beyond Biotech today.
Thank you, Dylan.
That's it for this episode. Don't forget to check out all the latest news and analysis at Labiotech.eu. I hope wherever you are in the world, you have a great week ahead. Thanks for listening, and I hope you'll join us again next time for another Beyond Biotech.